There's this strange pressure that seems to be floating in the online gaming space these days. With the recent viral successes of dopamine fueled roguelike games, it seems like one of the only ways to validate your experience on those games is if you get addicted to it. If people online are claiming to have sunk in countless hours, and you're struggling to even play the game for an hour or two in a single stretch, what does that say about you? Sure, if you're employed and have an actual life that involves the sight and touch of grass on the daily, you wouldn't care as much. But what if you're chronically online and you obsess over what the internet has to say about their experiences on a game? Do you just let these bunch of strangers influence your perspective? I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how necessary is it for that new game to take over your life? Does it always have to be the case that you need to sink in hundreds of hours as a way to justify the money you've spent? Are you keeping up a facade online where you need to force yourself into playing a game in the hope of getting hooked onto it like everyone else? I felt this pressure first when Balatro came out. It didn't matter if you didn't play the game. You knew it was an addictive game. The internet told you so. Combining poker with the roguelike, how can that combo not get you hooked on? Sure, if everyone's raving about this, there's nothing better than checking it out for yourself. And so I did. Somehow I ended up finding the game really boring. I wasn't able to get into it as much as I thought I would. This doesn't mean Balatro is a bad game. It's true that I've never really been much into roguelikes, nor have I had the patience to understand how card games work. I'm aware that not every genre a game is meant for you. But there's never any harm in giving it a shot every now and then, just to see if things might change. Unfortunately, I came down to judging my experience of this game solely based on how addicted I was to it. My playtime hours weren't up there. In this process, I ended up ignoring all the interesting elements of the game that I otherwise would have paid attention to. Whether it was the art style or the sound design, no matter how boring I found the game, I shouldn't have dismissed these cool elements of the game during my first playthrough. So when Ball Pit came out, a game that wasn't about cards but a bunch of balls, I was in. I was down to give the genre a shot again. A survival roguelite that revolves around these mysterious characters and the crazy things they can do with balls that end up fusing and evolving into other balls. Now combine that with some base building where you get to grow a bunch of trees and harvest wheat. I was sold. It's a game inside a game. But similarly, when Balatro came out, the feedback online let you know that this game was addictive. This time I was cautious though. I wasn't going to let social media convince me of what's good and what isn't. I have a mind of my own. I'm no longer part of the herd. So I said. I really wanted to check it out for myself. But after unlocking most of the areas and characters, I felt I was done with the game after 15 hours or so. It seemed like I failed to be an addict this time around too. Was 15 hours enough to get value out of a game? Can one really enjoy a game for just a bit compared to people online that have poured hundreds of hours and somehow still have something valuable to say about the game? Even though I don't have many hours on this game, I'm glad I gave Ball Pit a shot as it turned out to be such a pleasant surprise. The game has sold more than 400,000 units as of today. I'm sure by the time I'm done writing this, it'll cross 500,000 units. It's an amazing success story, not just for the gaming industry, but to see solo developers like Kenny's son get their due. I can't imagine the impact this success is going to have on other aspiring developers in the space. So I'm not here to take a dig at the game or the genre. Neither do I consider this an overnight success. It's blood, sweat and tears when it comes to creating games of this nature. That's why this essay isn't much of a review or an analysis of the game. I'm surely going to play Ball Pit more in the coming days. I doubt I'm going to cross 100 hours on this game though. So can I still claim to have had a good time on the game? Would my elitist Discord gaming buddies approve of my playtime? Am I qualified enough to post on the Ball Pit subreddit? For a moment, I felt like I didn't want to talk about this game because of my playtime not being up there. But ultimately, who decides the minimum playtime for someone to have a take on a game? What if you do like the game, are good at it, but have decided that you're done with it and just want to move on? Does more playtime on a game equate to more value gained? Would it be fair to compare someone with 50 hours on Elden Ring versus someone with 100 hours on the game? One can debate that the player with 60 hours didn't really give the game a proper shot. Didn't explore all the areas, probably rushed it, cheesed it, didn't do it the Souls way. Compared to the Vati Vidya disciple with 100 plus hours who'll convince you that the Age of the Stars is the most honorable ending. Point being, what if the player with 60 hours also had an absolute blast on the game, but 60 hours was all they needed to get the experience they were in search of? Do you just dismiss the entire experience because of their playtime being comparatively less? I mean, they both enjoyed the game. But is it fair to say that the one having the higher playtime holds more value when it comes to having an insightful take on the game? How does one decide that? At some point, you realize how damaging this type of mindset can be when approaching new games too. I used to do this when it came to reading books, that no matter how boring a book might be, until I don't force myself to the last page, I can't move on to the next book. And now, when I think about it, it's robbed me from experiencing so many other interesting books that I could have read instead. These days, if I don't like a book midway through, I just move on to the next one. So it's just not about the pressure of social media. I think we too put these unrealistic expectations onto ourselves that every piece of media we consume has to be completed to the very end. Whether it's a film, series, book, or a game. See, I do believe it's important to honor the creators. That taking it to the very end is in a way paying respect to their craft. But are we really obligated to do so? Especially if you're paying for that piece of media, shouldn't the choice be in your hands? The pressure of putting in endless time into something that isn't your thing just robs you from experiencing new and better things. I guess the positive part about hearing about the successes of these indie games is that it makes people aware about genres that they probably would shy away from. Word of mouth goes a long way, especially for an indie game. Having that type of awareness on social media does wonders. As a consumer, I think you just need to be self-aware, but also have some self-respect. Your gaming experience will always be unique. How you perceive a game will always be different to someone else. That difference in perspective holds a lot of value in my opinion. Irrespective of how good or bad you are at a game, or how many hours you have in a game, the gaming space will always be intimidating. So don't ever let the pressure of social media get to you. Experience the game for yourself first before diving into what the internet has to say about it. We tend to ruin so many of our experiences these days by reading up reviews before consuming the piece of media ourselves first. We care a lot about what other people have to say online that we slowly start to let go of our own sense of identity in the process. Stuck in a never-ending pursuit of online approval, that's a type of addiction too. I've asked more questions than I've given answers, but I guess you just need to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Develop your own taste and own it. Expand your palette without letting the internet dictate what you should like and what you shouldn't. You gotta find a way to have blinders on like a racehorse.